Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Factorio Friday Facts, number 403, Train Stops 2.0. I'm Exterminator, and thank you for joining me today. Hope you've had a good week and looking forward to the weekend. And this one is from Cloned. So, fairly short one. Great quality of life, though. All things improvements for train stops and trains. And we love all that. We have elevated rails now. We have the different like priority stop or priorities on stops and interrupts and all that, and we get even more improvements now, and there's quite a few of them. So let's just hop right in here. Train stop GUI showing on the way. So the train stop GUI got a new look of paint for 2.0 update. Generally, this was to make it conform to the typical layout of the entity GUIs, but I also took the opportunity to add a feature we were missing a little bit, that is the trains on the way. And this is one that I have wanted for quite a long time. You can kind of access this through the train menu, like the actual main train menu. When you go to a stop, you can kind of see it. It doesn't necessarily specifically say all the ones on the way. It just says all the trains that have that stop like in their schedule, and then you can kind of just look at the preview picture. But this is much more specific and useful because when you click on the stop, it just simply shows you every single train on the way and of course where it is. So this is massively helpful. I have wanted this quite a bit, especially in like our Megabase playthrough and such. This is definitely a really welcome feature. So there's that one. Next one is train naming and train limit. This is an important order of operations when setting up a new train. If you do it wrong, you can lead yourself to an unpleasant situation like this. And I have done this. I have in the Megabase, I had a few instances where I was kind of a dummy and I put a train down or a station down and copied like a name to it, or just named it and didn't set the limit correctly, and then every single train on the map just went to that station. Every train that had that station in its name, because I was using the same name for like certain drop offs, and it was a disaster. It looked kind of like this, but way worse. So this is gonna be nice. Where basically you can see here basically what I just said. You name the stop before setting the train limit. It's a mistake that you only make a few times, but even the process of setting up the limit and color each time are a bit of a hassle. You could always copy, paste an existing stop, or use a blueprint. However, these options are not always convenient. So after some thought and doing it over and over again, build stop, set limit, set color, set name, etc., Clone came up with a solution that minimizes the risk and at the same time makes it more convenient. When I set the name of a stop, I want it to copy the limit and color from an existing stop with that name, right? So basically, we can come down here and setting name will copy the limit and color from an existing train stop. So what if there are multiple stops? The safest way is to pick the existing stop with the lowest train limit. What if I set the limit before naming the stop and it says the train limit is only changed if there's no current limit set? So you can kind of see in this GIF here, basically, so if you have a bunch of stations with the same name, so like you're just sharing like iron drop off is the name for all of your iron drop off stations, then when you name a new station with that, it will just, like it shows here, it'll just copy the train limit and the color and such to the new station, and you don't have to do each individual one manually. So I really like that. Now, one little Easter egg potentially to mention, I did see someone post in the Reddit discussion for this that it looks like there's something new on the Spidertron's head here. Like this looks kind of different than what we have up here in this image. I wanted to mention it because I thought maybe someone in my comments would mention it, and I did want to indicate that I did notice that, but I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a little hard to tell, to be honest. It may just be kind of the angle we're looking at, or just the fact we only see part of it. It maybe just isn't even changed. So I did want to just mention that I did see that, but I'm not convinced that it's something new necessarily. Well, I am always on the lookout for new little spoilers and such. So this one's super nice. And then train stop name shown when hovered on a map. And this is fantastic. Oh my gosh, this is probably top two of all the things shown in this Friday fact. So generally, I think a lot of people probably keep the station names off when playing. I usually do because on the map view, because it gets super cluttered, right? If you have a bunch of different stations like this, it would get very cluttered. However, you may want to see what a specific stop is. So Clown made a simple change. When you hover over stop, it will show, the name regardless of the map view setting. So even if you have train station names turned off on the map view, when you just mouse over it, it'll show it. And this is really, really nice. Now, of course, you can still turn on the station name thing. Will just show all stations all the time. But if you do want that off and just want to see an individual, fantastic. I really love this. And then train stop shows path of incoming train. This is another small thing that was missing, but basically it's a quick indication where an incoming train was and how long it would take to arrive. So this was another simple feature. When you hover a train stop, it will show the paths of the incoming trains so you can track their progress, right? So you can just kind of see the example here. Oh, sorry, excuse me as I yawn. This will be hopefully helpful for me to avoid dying, but probably not, to be honest. But this is still super nice. And then this is, I would say, the other one that is in the top two. So it's the hover over station name, and this is probably number one for me. Is train stops are normally big. It is convenient to navigate them from the map, so it always was always a pain needing to zoom in to copy paste them. So Tobias made it possible to copy paste them from the map view, and this is, oh man, like this is one of those features. Well, we would say this a lot, but this is really, truly one of those features where it's like, why hasn't this been a thing since since they made all these other map view improvements, quite a long time ago, where you could place blueprints in the map and all this other stuff. This definitely seems like something we should have had already. So I don't mean for that to sound like a complaint. It's more like I'm super excited and I wish we did have it because I feel like we probably should have. But this is just absolutely fantastic. I think the best thing in this Friday Facts right here is just so much easier. I mean, you can of course zoom in and then name them, but like if you don't have radar view necessarily, you couldn't do it all of them. So I don't know if there will be any limitations with that in the map view, but I kind of don't think so. And then rename all train stops, and this is another one. I would say this is maybe tied with the hover over name thing. So I guess there's three in the top two, which is like half the Friday Facts, but still. So you have a scenario where you spent, hundreds of hours in game copying and pasting and naming your stations all consistently, but you made a small typo and named all your orange resource stations copper drop, and now you're stuck with it. But we are not so cruel as to make you rename them all one by one. So with the addition of 2.0, if you hold control when confirming the change in the train stop GUI, it will rename all train stops with the name to the new name, right? So, and it even gives you the tooltip here. So this is absolutely fantastic, right? If you want to just change a name just because you don't like the name, or you're just trying to convert like whole stations from one thing to another, you can just, if you have, like here, if you have copper drop and you, for example, just don't like the name and you want it to just be copper do, you don't have to do every single one individually. You could just rename one, hold control before you submit, and it will name all of the copper drops to copper do. Or if you're just switching things, like you are making all your copper stations now the iron stations, obviously you'd have to clean them out and stuff, but name wise it can be done super easy, super quick, not renaming X amount of stations one by one over and over and over again. So this is fantastic. Next one, and this one is, I thought this would be controversial because it's so ridiculous, but I haven't really seen anyone say anything negative about it, and honestly, I'm like fine with it. I don't really mind. I think it's a good thing, but it's kind of hilarious. So, with the new elevator rails, we had a new elevator rails problem. What if the train you're riding ran out of fuel while over some water? We don't want the player to get stuck with no way to escape. We brainstorm many ideas, but the simplest and easy solution: one out, players can push locomotive with their feet, Flintstone style. So, for anyone who's seen Flintstones, remembers, definitely a pretty like iconic type of thing is just sticking your feet like out the bottom of a car or a train and pushing it through. If you haven't, you can look that up. I think there was like a gif of it on the forum discussion for this. But yeah, it's not very powerful or fast, so it isn't really usable in normal situations. But for an emergency, it gets the job done, right? And then, given the player can ride wagons, it also naturally means that wagons should be manually pushable too, which is quite a funny sight to see. So yeah, this is pretty hilarious. You can just, I can see some people like messing around and trolling other people where they're just like pushing wagons around like this, and you just see a wagon slowly move by with nothing else, or some crazy challenge things where people are building bases with resources moved only by players pushing wagons. This sounds excruciating at this speed, but I'm sure someone will do it. And yeah, I think it's fine. Like I said, it's kind of ridiculous, but honestly, it's really nice for situations like this because otherwise you would be kind of stuck unless they made you be able to stand on the rail, which doesn't really work, I think, with how it's programmed. So yeah, that just makes sense. Like it does fix a problem that was a pretty clear problem, I think. So definitely good, but I think it is quite silly. But we can already carry rocket silos in our backpack, so I guess that ship has sailed. And then remote driving trains, and this is another one. Okay, maybe there's four in the top two. I guess maybe all these are just fantastic, but there are some standout ones, and this is one. This is great. A little bad for me. I'm sure I'm gonna get killed a lot with this whenever I play multiplayer, but basically you'll be able to drive trains remotely, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, currently in 1.0, I would still love this, but it makes even more sense, and I think is pretty much necessary in 2.0 with different planets, which is the example they give, right? So sometimes they get themselves in a tricky situation where you can't just like give them a temporary stop to get them out or something because of signaling or they've crashed and lost a locomotive or something on one end, whatever it may be. But if you're on some other planet, right, you don't want to like get on your space platform and travel all the way back to whatever planet the train's stuck on to fix it. So you can now, well, now meaning when 2.0 comes out, you, thanks to Rayguard, you can be able to remote drive trains. So you can see here there's a button to drive remotely. It is accessed through the train GUI or with the normal toggle driving hotkey. And this is absolutely brilliant. So I love this so much. You can just boom, go and find where the train is, regardless if it's on the planet or not, and just drive it out of there from the map view. Right, which is I think at first I was like, well, maybe that's kind of a little ridiculous too. But honestly, if we had the ability to traverse planets and have all these like laser weapons and all this other stuff, I'm sure that having the ability to just remote into a train to drive it, I mean, that may even be a thing in real life for all I know. Like, they may be able to like remotely control trains at this point. So this is not super unrealistic, I don't think. And it's super helpful. Like I said, though, I'm sure I'm going to die a lot because people, I think I'll be safe, and then someone on another planet will just drive the train over me remotely. But this is just really really great. And then Rail Planner works in the map mode, and this is another thing. Now I very rarely use the Rail Planner. I think I'm just bad with it. I can never get it to do what I want it to do. I know you can like shift and like mouse wheel to get it to do different shapes, but it just never does. Like this. Like I would never want to build. I mean, I know this is an example, but anyway, I rarely use it. But for people who do, this is fantastic. So basically, you can now build rails with the rail planner in the map view. Pretty straightforward. Just they say that this probably should have been something that was implemented when they added blueprinting to the map view, but it wasn't, and now it is, which is great. So I would assume the hotkeys and all that work the same, but you can now just do it from the map view. Super, super awesome. And then Gennis also finished up Superforce building support for Rail Planner, so crusading over lakes is easier than ever. So yeah, you can now Superforce build, which makes it like include landfill without having to blueprint the landfill, and you can just do all this from map view. So you may never have to really go anywhere after a certain point. That's super late game, obviously, but yeah, being able to do more remotely is super nice. And that's it. That's the Friday Facts. Pretty short one, like I said, but just absolutely brilliant, fantastic features for trains. Man, with all these quality of life features we got from trains, it's just gonna be so nice. It is gonna be a bit overwhelming. I saw some people mention that, but I think it's gonna end up being, man, it's gonna be like just a different world. We're playing it with trains once we get 2.0 in our hands. But that's basically all of it. If you have thoughts for them, leave it in their forum discussion or on the Reddit. They do read both. And any thoughts you have, I would love to hear them below as well. Are you excited for this? What is there anything you would do differently? Your thoughts. I always love to read those. And if you did enjoy, a like is appreciated. If you're excited for these, definitely leave a like as well. And if you're new, welcome. And feel free to subscribe to keep up with future content if you aren't already. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.